Boom! Welcome into Sports Bet. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy Tuesday, May 30th. Big game breakdown. Yankees-Orioles, Astros-Twins. Deep dive. Week 1 college football numbers put up Friday at the South Point here in Las Vegas. We'll go over those and another winner with the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. How about a bad beat for the Angels season? Kids, do not slide head first, ever. Trout will need surgery for his left thumb. He's out 6 to 8. Look at this stat. Offensive WAR, 31.5. No one else even close. And it gets worse. Batting average, Trout, 337. The Angels, 226. On base percentage, 461. Rest of the team, 298. Slugging, 742. Rest of the team, 341. Oh, it's all over, Teddy, for the Angels.
Not that the Angels were going anywhere with Mike Trout, but what we're likely to see is a significant betting market reaction against LA. And I'll tell you what, if the Angels manage to go 5-5 over a 10-game span without Mike Trout, you're going to make money with LA. But when you talk about the biggest bat in the game from a team that doesn't have a whole lot of other good bats right now behind him, yeah, enormous loss for LA. But it's one that the betting markets are going to be asleep on.
Yes, Mariners-Rockies over 11. Fell 11. But it was on 11 in the 6th inning. How about the bullpens in this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Rockies and Mariners both have had some surprisingly good bullpen runs for extended stretches this season. Yesterday's game, certainly one of those. You know, Gaviglio and Chetwood combined to give up 11 runs in 9 1/3. And the two bullpens throw 8 2/3 innings of shutout baseball. You had the over 11. You can't call it a bad beat because it was a push. But that was a bad push. Had to like your chances, as you mentioned. We're sitting on 11 in the 6th inning. Didn't get any more runs thereafter.
Now you're supposed to cash that ticket. Bad bets. D-backs Pirates over 9. Bet up to 9.5. It was 1-1 in the 7th. And the Cubs took money on the road again. Minus 220 on the road with Hendricks. They led 2-0. They lost 5-2.
Yeah, I mean, with the Cubs, let it be recorded for all of MLB history to come. A team sitting at 500 when they went to bed on Memorial Day was better than a 2-1 road favorite on that day. Cubs are a 500 team right now, you know, and Kyle Schwarber, what's he, 173 for the season? One of his last 29 on the road since April 29th, and that was a single at Coors Field on May 9th. And as for the D-backs and Pirates, I mean, bettors were not respecting the current form of Trevor Williams or Randall Delgado. That duo combined for 11 strikeouts and no walks, only gave up 1 run apiece, and 4-3 final stayed under the total. That money sending the 9 up to 9.5, that was all wrong. Those were bad bets.
Another one, Phillies Marlins over 8.5 to 9.5, crossed 9.
Yeah, and I mean the Phillies offense is in about as dead of a slump as you're going to find. They scored 18 runs over their last 8 games, and all of them, Pauly, came against relatively weak starting pitchers. Talking about Marquez and Hoffman, Chatwood, Anderson, Edelman, Arroyo, Feldman, Volquez. It's not like they've been facing one ace after the next. I was surprised to see all that over money. I wasn't surprised to see all that over money be a wrong side loser.
Bet for the books, Astros-Twins over 8.5 to 9. Our play of the day winner. It was 8-2 Twins in the 8th, an 11th spot for Houston.
Yeah, and you know, we call this bad for books, not a bad beat. Because you knew. We told you about Minnesota's bullpen issues right here on yesterday's Sports Bet. And boy, that came in to fruition. Bad for books with all the over money in that contest. The bullpen's completely out of gas. And, you know, talk about a turnaround. At the start of the 8th inning, the Astros had a 0.7% winning probability. By the end of the inning, it was about 98%. That, sir, is a big 11-run 8th inning.
Then one more. Look at this. As usual, the Carrasco takes money. Indians against the A's, 225 up to 260. They're 8-2 in his starts, and he hasn't finished lower than $1.60, and 4 times he's closed higher than 220.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know the drill by now. Anytime that Carlos Carrasco wins, it's likely to be in our bad for the book segment of the show, because start after start, every single start, he has taken money. Not one, not two, not most, every single one. And, of course, bettors have been winning backing Carlos Carrasco. As you mentioned, Cleveland 8-2 in his 10 starts. And you can expect the Carrasco money to continue again the next time he comes to the Hill.
And one more. If it wasn't over before, it is now. Tiger Woods with a DUI. Look at that mugshot photo. Look at this poor kid. Wrecked. Look at the Chia Pet haircut as well. Oh, man. His last tournament win, 2013. His most recent major, 2008. There was a great story from Wright Thompson last year on ESPN.com. He's depressed. He sits in his mansion all day long and plays video games. And here he is at his restaurant getting all hopped up. He doesn't even call Uber.
Well, I mean, that the DUI mugshot looks as bad as me passed out on the Indy 500 infield, Pauly, we talked about yesterday. But, I mean, he's, what, is he saying that it wasn't alcohol? I mean...
No, I don't, the statement's bullshit. That's a bunch of BS.
The most interesting thing to me about Tiger Woods is the fact that we're still talking about him, okay? He hasn't won a major since 2008. He hasn't won a tournament since 2013. This is starting to remind me a little bit of Mike Tyson, who wasn't a good fighter for a decade, after he lost to Buster Douglas. He really wasn't ever the same guy. And yet, we talked about him and talked about him and talked about him because he'd reached that level of celebrity. I feel bad for Tiger Woods. And it's hard to say I feel bad for a guy that's worth that much money, but I kind of do, Pauly.
Feel bad? Oh, come on. He did it to himself. Hey, John Daly's got a brighter future than Tiger Woods. How about that when it comes to golf? Up next, big game breakdown. Yankees and Orioles, Astros and Twins on SportsBit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, betting insight today. Time for a big game breakdown. As always, live odds. SBR Odds and Sportsbook Review. Check out the rating guide. Make sure you're betting with a trustworthy shop out there. Yankees and Orioles, Severino against Tillman. Yankees on the road, $1.25, the total. Orioles got a big win to open the series yesterday, and that ended a 7-game losing streak. They're back to a 2.5 games of first place, but there's some pop missing from Tillman. He's opened 1-1 with an ERA of 4 after 16-6 and a 3.77 last year. Still early, but only 4 starts, a 20-inning pitch. Strikeout percentage is down from 19.6 to 15.8. Swinging strike percentage down from 8.7 to 6.6. Also averaging 19 pitches per inning. Got pushed to 20.8 against the Twins in his last start. Tillman, after losing to Minnesota, quote, "I couldn't throw the ball where I wanted to early, and every adjustment I tried to make, I felt like it got worse. Later in the game, I was able to make an adjustment and able to make better pitches," end quote. Now you have Severino, 23 years old. Looked like they rushed him up last year. It's been night and day so far for this kid.
Yeah, it sure has. I mean, if you look at the stats so far this season, there was promise last year. This year, there's results. Obviously, only 3-2. The win-loss could be better. Twice in the last 4 starts, he's allowed only 1 run and gotten a no decision in those ball games. But the ERA is there. Look at the strikeouts per 9-10. The walks are down. The ground ball rate is up. Phenomenal numbers, and the betting markets aren't asleep on this guy, as you see. Even though the Orioles snapped that 7-game skid with the win yesterday, we've seen the Yankees as road favorites here. And Severino, what did he do last time out? 8 shutout innings against Kansas City, 7 strikeouts, only 4 hits and 1 walk allowed. You love it when the starter gets more strikeouts than walks and hits allowed. And, of course, the key has been the development of that changeup. Last year, he only threw it a little bit. This year, he's throwing it about 12% of the time. And why is that changeup so important for a guy like Severino? Real simple. Average fastball velocity in 2017, 50 innings pitched or more. Yeah, Severino's #1 in all of baseball. So if you can get that changeup over the plate, opposing hitters don't have much of a chance.
Lorenzo Cain after the last game. It was tough to face him. Lights out, pretty much unhittable. Girardi on the changeup. He started to feel better in spring training with it. I'm not so sure he ever really felt comfortable with it last year. That's the end of his quote. Yankees 8-10 the last 3 weeks. Scored 3 runs or less in 5 of the last 6 after that hot hitting stretch to start out. Although Judge hit a home run in the loss. He's been amazing yesterday. Game number 2, live odds, SBR Odds Sportsbook Review. Astros and the Twins at it again. Fires against Barrios. Twins $1.25 at home, 9 the total. Barrios makes a bigger leap than Severino. First round pick in 2012, still only 23 years old. Wasn't ready last year. Throw up this graphic. How about these numbers? 3-7 with an ERA of 8. You see the strikeouts per 9 and the walks per 9. along with the ground ball percentage and swinging strike percentage. This year, 3-0 with a 1.66. It's like wiffle ball in the backyard, Teddy, with how that ball moves for him.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about a guy who clearly wasn't ready last year. But we're also talking about a guy who basically, since he was drafted, everyone was saying, watch out for this prospect. Pay attention to this guy. Don't fall asleep on Barrios. And if you've been falling asleep on him this year, you've already lost 3 games because he's won each of his first 3 starts. The ERA's been fantastic. The strikeouts per 9 has been fantastic. And look, 2 of the 3 starts, we're not talking about facing weaklings. One thing I'm always interested in is the quality of opponents faced and quality of batters faced and what he do in 2 of those 3 starts. Road games at Baltimore and at Cleveland. So we're talking about a pair of pretty good lineups that he shut down already. And, of course, behind him, the Minnesota bullpen, at least back to some semblance of normal yesterday. You know, a take one for the team situation when they used Presley and Breslow and Belisle all back-to-back off of the Tampa marathon. And then those 3 got crushed, 11 runs in the 8th inning. Drew Rosinski was a disaster in the 9th. We're not going to see any of them until at least Wednesday. But other than those 4, none of whom are key arms for the Twins' pen, the others are rested enough to get back into action in tonight's ballgame.
They wanted us to skip Fiers, but Morton got hurt. We talked about this Monday on the show. So Fiers goes from 11-8 with a 4.48 to 1-2 with a 5.21. Controlling home runs a problem, and not good problems for a pitcher to have. You see, last year, walks per 9 and home runs per 9. I mean, this is the worst in Major League Baseball with home runs per 9 innings and the home run fly ball ratio. He's allowed 18 home runs, at least 1 in every game, and he's on pace to shatter the record, by the way, and multiple home runs in 6 of 9. Fires on Saturday after being told of his demotion. I've got to do what the team needs, and right now that's me going to the bullpen. I got to work on some things to get right back to where I used to be. I don't know where his confidence level is going to be as well. We'll get back to this game with Barrios and the Twins with the play of the day. Up next, the deep dive. College football win totals, week 1 at the South Point. Some major moves we'll tell you about up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
What's up, everyone? I'm Drew Martin with SBR. Want to give you an update on a free handicapping contest that we're putting together. It's called the MLB June Bet Points Contest. The purse is 1,500 SBR bet points, which go to the top 5 finishers. The top 5 finishers also get an SBR t-shirt, and the winner of the contest can be featured on one of SBR's shows. I'm Drew Martin for SBR. Make sure to find it on the SBR tab on the SBR website. I'll see you in the contest.
Wrapping it up on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard with a Y, Teddy_covers. Deep dive, here we go. Friday at the South Point, Chris Andrews and his crew released Week 1 college football lines. This is great. And how about this? Some major moves already. And the season starts Saturday, August 26th. How good is that? It's only about 4 or 5 games. We have another game in Australia as well with Rice and Stanford. All right, Boise at home against Troy. Troy had a good year last year. Remember, they gave Clemson fits on the road. Opened 5 all the way up to 11. Remember, Boise stunk ATS last year at home. Yeah,
they sure did, but the betting market's saying that blue turf is still worth something, especially early in the season. This one of the bigger line moves. And don't forget, when we're talking about these type of moves at this stage of the betting season, where one book's open numbers and they're taking action, it doesn't take a lot of money to move these numbers, and it takes 2, 3, 4 bets, and you can see a line move like this one of 6 full points.
Yep, you were allowed to bet $1,000 per game. Okie State opened 10 against Tulsa, all the way up to 17 at home. Tulsa had a good year last year.
Oh yeah, they had a really hot offense last year and gave some pretty good teams trouble, but certainly the early money on Okie State saying that Tulsa defense is likely to have a hard time getting any stops versus the Cowboys offense. Okie State has the potential to score a whole bunch of points this year, and Tulsa's defense may not be up to the task.
Western Michigan and USC, no Fleck, no Corey Davis. USC 19 up to 22.
Sure, this is not the last time that USC is going to take money this year, and it's not the last time the markets are going to be going against Western Michigan. The Broncos, at least the feel I'm getting around town is that a lot of people thinking that Western Michigan a one-year wonder, and now that Fleck is gone, things will be very, very different in Kalamazoo.
South Florida, 25 down to 21 against San Jose State. Taggart leaves, goes to Oregon.
Yeah, and Quentin Flowers is back for USF. Not Marlon Mack, and as you mentioned, not Willie Taggart, who was instrumental in that turnaround. Pretty big early move towards San Jose State. I think it's more against USF than on the Spartans. Navy,
a 21-point favorite, down to 18 against Florida Atlantic. They want some Lane Kiffin.
They sure do. They're betting on. I think they're betting on Kiffin's ability to recruit some athletes. And when you talk about a Navy team that doesn't necessarily match up particularly well against athletic competition, 18 points, it feels like a lot. And 21 points felt like too much for at least one or two bettors from the openers.
Chris Andrews has Wisconsin power rated very high. We'll talk about that more tomorrow on Games of the Year. But they open up 37 at home against Utah State, bet down to 34, Aggies money.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back rough years for the Aggies. But somebody out there thinks they'll be able to get some stops versus that Badgers running game. The better Utah State teams defensively have been able to get stops, even against Power 5 conference competition.
Northern Illinois opened 2 against BC. Now BC's the favorite. They're -2.
Well, I mean, funny. You look last year, the Huskies went 0-4 straight up out of conference. They were focused on the MAC games, and BC only won 2 games in conference, and yet they finished the season 7-6 because they went 5-0 out of conference, including their bowl game. But BC also came on strong down the stretch. I think that has a potential. Eagles have the potential to be a very hot team in the markets this year. We're already seeing signs of that right off the openers.
Something else we'll talk about on tomorrow's show. Let's slow down with the Penn State hype. 39 against Akron. They weren't buying it. Akron money down to 35.
Yeah, I mean, the Nittany Lions are going to be hard-pressed to find that same ATS magic this year. Remember, this is a squad that went 9-0 against the spread in their final 9 games last year to close out the season. And James Franklin didn't have them ready in the opener last year either. And remember, they beat Kent State by 20, but they only outgained the Golden Flashes by 75 yards in that game. Bettors expecting similar struggles in the opener against the Zips this year.
A lot of good games week 1. Here's another one. Neutral site, Houston. LSU against BYU. LSU opened 8, closed 11. They played well down the stretch for Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, they sure did. At 6-2 ATS for Ed Orgeron in that ballgame. So they finally didn't underachieve. And there really is a different level of athletes between what LSU brings to the table and what BYU brings to the table. Of course, when you talk about Darius Geis and a guy who's coming in as one of the Heisman frontrunners already, you can expect a fair bit of hype. I'm not surprised at all that LSU took money, even on a neutral site in Houston.
And 2 more. Georgia from 11-14 against App State, and NC State against South Carolina. South Carolina money down from 8-5.
Yeah, the Gamecocks, I mean, both these are the same story. SC schools taking money. You know, LSU, the one before that, and SC school taking money. These are not shocking things to hear. When it's South Carolina, you talk about an SEC school off a down year taking money. When you talk about Georgia, we remember what App State did last year in the opener against Tennessee. They took the Vols to overtime, but then a couple weeks later at Miami week 3, largely non-competitive. Still the best. But the bottom line, even the best Sun Belt school, which App State looks to be on paper going into the season, still going to be a 2-touchdown underdog, and the markets have said that with the early money.
You're right. Miami blew them out in that one. Tomorrow, Games of the Year. Chris Andrews and his crew came up with those Monday. We'll run those down in college football, and then we'll start the NFC South previews. Looking forward to that. NBA Finals right around the corner as well. Money time, play of the day. Let's keep it going. Red hot. Betting number 924. Back to the Twins and Barrios. $1.25. Twins 3-0 for them already, and they're just getting started. See if they bounce back after the tough bullpen loss, and if he can continue his red-hot streak as well. Plus, it's Fires. Come on. They'll take him deep a couple times as well. Betting number 924 with the Twins. Small home favorite in this one. All right, that'll do it. We're back tomorrow. Big show coming up. And look at the sheet here. All the games of the year at the South Point. We'll run those down as well on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.